Hey everyone. So let's come back to 2 Corinthians chapter 5 and talk about this expression out of the home and into the home. We'll first understand that these occurrences of the word home are verbs. They're not nouns. And remember, I already talked about the context of the house here, pointing to Mark 13:35. When the Lord of the house comes, beginning with the watch times. But now let's talk about this word here, because this word is also a verb from apodemeo, G590, where the human traveling away, leaving his house. Same context of the Lord of the house when he comes again. So he gives his slaves authority. So when he returns, when the Lord of the house comes, then this begins in the resurrection, the out-resurrection at eventide, and then the subsequent resurrection of John 5:28 and 29, which is the earthly on house of the tentage. We're then back to 1 Corinthians chapter 5, verses 6 through 9. We have two more variations of that same word. Apodemeo, travels away. So here, in at home is endemeo, where the preposition en governs that which is in, and then out of the home is ekdemeo, the preposition ek, governing out. So, being in at home in the body is our present condition right now, while Christ has traveled away. We are out of the home away from the Lord. So this is now, presently. For in this condition, we walk through faith, not perceivableness. But as being encouraged, we well deem also much more to go out of the home, out of the body, which is still this present condition, and to go into the home to the Lord is when he comes and we are earthly on bodies. So prior to entering the wedding feasts. So this is still according to the earthly on house of the tentage when the Lord of the house comes. So, into the home to the Lord, the word to here is the preposition pros, which still means with a view to. This is the context of the podium right here. So when Paul says, therefore, we also value as befriend worthy, whether being in at home, in the body, in our present condition, before the Lord of the house comes, or being out of the home, in the earthly on condition here, before entering the wedding feasts at midnight, to be well-pleasing to the Lord. And this is the all-popular verse, where people say to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. This is not what the verse says. That's what poor Bible translations say. So, to go into the home to the Lord, with the view to the Lord, pros, is when we are in front of the podium of Christ when he returns. Okay, so that each one may fetch the things having become through the body to which he practiced, whether good or malicious. So, this is how we have to understand all of this, where the context here is what Paul is saying here in 1 Corinthians chapter 3. The work of each will become revealed, for the day will make it obvious, because it is then unveiled in the fire, and the work, what kind it is, the fire will examine it, where if we back up, we see, but if anyone builds on the foundation, gold, silver, valuable stones, wood, grass, straw, points to the great house. 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 20, but in a great house there are not only golden and silver implements, but also wooden and earthen. So again, back to 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 13, the work of each will become revealed in front of the podium of Christ when we are out of the body, this condition, into the condition of the earthly on condition. Back here. When we are in the earthly on house of the tentage, which should be down loosened. So, also the context here of fire and the day will make it obvious because it is then unveiled in the fire, takes us to 2 Thessalonians. Here in verses 7 and 8 we read, and to you who are being afflicted, slackening which is with you in the unveiling of the Lord Jesus from heaven with the angels of his ability in a flame of fire, in the unveiling of the one who is giving out justifying to those who are not perceiving God, those who will be found bare in 2 Corinthians chapter 5, where when we come down here to verse 10, when as it were he comes to be and glorified in his holy ones and to be marveled at in all the faithing ones in that day. That day. Again, 1 Corinthians 3:13, in that day will make it obvious because it's now being revealed. It is being unveiled in the fire, in the unveiling of the Lord from heaven with the angels of his ability in a flame of fire. Who the angels are those who come into the wedding feast first at eventide. When the Lord of the house comes, eventide is the first watch time, which we see has now disappeared in Luke 12:38 because they're going away out of the wedding feasts in verse 36, according to the up loosen here. So these are heavenly on bodies, where thereupon are earthly on bodies who did not come into the wedding feast first. They come in second, which concludes at midnight. Again, 2 Corinthians 5:2, the guarded dwelling site, yea, the one out of heaven to slip in on us, as in the earthly on house of the tentage, we are longing for and sighing. The sighing has to do with birth pangs. When Paul says that we ourselves sigh in ourselves in our present condition, Romans 8:23, being receptively out-oriented once toward the sun setting, towards the unloosening of our bodies, well, the unloosening of our bodies is the earthly on bodies in the earthly on house of the tentage. Where here Paul writes, for also in this condition we sigh, as one's longing for our guarded dwelling site to slip in on us. The better resurrection is referred to as unloosening here in Hebrews 11:35. It's like unloosening the belt, unloosening the shoes that are too tight. However, uploosening is much, much more better, which is coming into the wedding feasts here first. So it's unloosening before entering the wedding feasts is the point I'm trying to make. And I'm running out of time again, so be encouraged, because to go out of the home into the home to the Lord is unloosening. It's the earthly on bodies